Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health. And really, without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
You're listening to the sweet and sensual sounds of Nerdery and Murdery.
Seriously, you're an idiot. Welcome to episode 5 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Hi, I'm Zig, and I'll be here with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey. I'm here with your Murdery, and we're again saying hello from the past. For those of you listening to this live, this is July 4th.
July 4th.
Happy Independence Day, America.
America.
So...
Well, I am so glad that today is Independence Day because this is a very American piece of nerdery I have to talk about. So.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm very happy about it.
Well, my story happens in America too.
Well,
so,
there you go.
As we go into that, so I'm gonna probably go watch the fireworks tonight. We've got a really cool vantage point here. We go up and we can see like 5 different shows from
nice.
Where we go. Take the golf cart out to place of the course that's still being built, and probably going to need an edit point here in a minute because somebody's going to come. Well, maybe the dogs won't go off, but they might. I've had a couple of those dog apocalypses that have happened. So for us, it's still the same day as episode 4.
Yes.
So recording multiples in a day.
We are in our podcast time machine.
So, I suspect July 4th, we're going to be in maybe kind of a little bit of a different world that we're in now.
I'm hoping that by that point, everybody is going to be vaccinated. So I would like to have a 4th of July sort of picnic in the backyard with my peoples.
Well, I mean, this morning on the news, we're still back in April.
Yes.
Did see 31% of Texans have had their first
Nice.
dose. So, we're well on our way, I think, to 200 million actually getting at least one.
Yeah. Everybody
shot.
in my house has at least had their first dose, except for the 6-year-old.
Yeah. Well, Johnson & Johnson is being re-released, I believe. They got put on pause for a little while, but they're coming out. So, 3 vaccines. So, yeah, hoping on July 4th, we're really more towards some sense of
normalcy.
Kind of hated the normal we got used to for a year. It was
God.
not a whole lot of fun.
No.
Everything closed. And I did, I forgot to say this too. Last episode, so I'll bring it up here. One of the things from the pandemic that kind of started was some movies getting released in home.
Yes.
Same time as the day they're released. Disney Plus is doing it.
HBO Max.
HBO Max. And HBO Max is actually where on Friday night, Chelsea and I watched Mortal Kombat.
Was it good?
I enjoyed it.
Was it better than the first Mortal Kombat movie?
And I liked the first Mortal Kombat. It was cheesy, of course, the first one, and so was this one.
Every 30 seconds, I kept expecting to hear, "There can be only one."
What's his name? Christopher
Lambert.
Who?
Lambert.
Lambert? Is
Yeah.
that his name?
Yeah, I think he's Belgian.
The Highlander?
Yes. So Frenchy German.
Frenchy German?
Belgian.
I guess that's right. Belgian is kind of Frenchy German.
Frenchy German.
It was fun. It was well done. It was good graphics, good special effects. Just like I said, just as cheesy as the first one. But there were callbacks to the first one.
Nice.
Callbacks, of course, to the video game. People who obsess over the Mortal Kombat series, which I think is now on, I don't know, 10, 11, or 12.
God, remember when that thing came out in the arcades, man?
Oh, I know.
We used to go to Texas Games and play it.
Well, and I saw that one of the more recent adaptations of it, Rambo, is one of the characters in there, and there's a bunch of cutscenes with Rambo. So, it's still Mortal Kombat still as popular as ever.
Okay, so is there any audio when he talks? Is it like?
Yes, you can actually see all of his cutscenes on the web. And yeah, he talks just like Rambo. It's pretty funny. They show his cutscenes with his kill scenes and everything like that. They're pretty brutal and gory. The new Mortal Kombat is in itself. It's a little gore, but it's more comical gore.
Okay. I never really. Granted, there was the blood spraying and everything else, but it was kind of cartoonish. I mean, I never saw what the big deal was because it was. I always thought it was kind of comical anyway.
It was in the video games, for sure. It was. It was always very comical. The finishing moves,
Finish him,
and they have that in here. You get flawless victory. So it was good. It was enjoyable. It's one I would watch again. I have to say, I'm glad I didn't go to the movie theaters and pay for it. Granted, I'm paying for HBO Max, so I am paying for it somewhat.
Yes, but you get HBO Max.
I get HBO Max.
Which has Friends.
It does.
The Schneider Cut.
And the Schneider Cut, which I've still not watched. So I haven't dedicated the 4 hours to it.
Watch it in 2 parts.
I know. I've got to do it. It's on my list. Maybe by the time that hopefully things are going well. Maybe by our 100th episode, maybe I'll have watched it by then.
Watch the Schneider. It may not be on HBO Max by then, sir.
I know, but I've got so much other stuff to watch. I watch a lot of murdery stuff. I saw the new Hulu. I didn't watch it, but I saw the ads for the new Hulu series Sasquatch, which is a guy looking for Sasquatch and ends up uncovering murders and crime cartel or drug cartels and whatnot. So that might be something I might watch at some point.
That was really good.
Yeah, it was me that was telling you. So Yeah, Mortal Kombat. It was good. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. That's another obsession of people. So,
did they have any of the Utah Saints or Chemical Brothers?
No. The Utah Saints version of Mortal Kombat's always been one of my favorites.
Mortal Kombat,
love it. They do a new take on it, but it was definitely callback to the Utah Saints version. So I very much appreciated that.
Nice.
There was a fight scene where there were some hints of it buried along with other things. So give it a watch. It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun. It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
I would at least recommend giving it a watch.
Yeah, I think Chloe might be interested in that too, and probably Craig too.
Well, surprisingly, Chelsea was the one that brought it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch that, absolutely. So
I wasn't going to watch it because I thought you would hate it.
Right. So we watched it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Anything else new for you?
No. No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That wasn't very interesting.
Deathly silence.
Silence.
All right. Well, then I guess with that, you want to regale me with some nerdery?
Yes. This particular nerdery is about theater. A particular type of theater that is my favorite. Well, mostly my favorite. It's one of my favorites. I think I even talked about it in the first episode. It's Southern Gothic literature or Southern Gothic plays, which a lot of them have been made into films. I personally think the films are not as good.
Well, you had mentioned to me Southern Gothic literature, and at the time, just when I heard that phrase, I had no clue what you were talking about. I'm like, what the hell is Southern Gothic literature?
Yeah.
I had no clue. And then you brought up some of the titles. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Yep, seen that.
I remember you loved Where the Heart Is. Where the Heart Is a piece of Southern Gothic literature.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. And I do love Where the Heart Is.
Yeah.
Ashley Judd is great in it. Natalie Portman is great in it.
Stalker Channing.
Stalker Channing, thank you, because that's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah, I actually have
She's
a quote
wonderful
from
in it.
Sister Husband.
Sister Husband. No, that's a good one. That one was a guilty pleasure of mine. I've watched it multiple times.
Well, it's an interesting piece of literature because it essentially is very American. It's very Southern American, but we are Southern Americans, so
even me from Arizona originally.
Still South. I want to say that you're actually from further south than I am. I believe Flagstaff's further south. Tucson. Then DFW.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Yeah, it's more, maybe considered Western, but I mean, you've also been here since you were what, 6?
I've been in Texas since the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, not 6, 8, but yeah.
However old I was then. 3rd grade.
Yeah, 3rd grade. That's a good long time.
Yeah. Still actually remember someone from my 3rd grade class to this day that to this day I hate. So
I'm so sorry.
If JJ Dugan is out there and he's a listener, you can stop now because I just don't like you.
JJ Dugan.
I hold grudges. I'm so terrible.
Why do you hold grudges? So JJ Dugan and Eric Berg.
And Berg, yeah. Berg, you can stop listening to.
Eric, we love you. We miss you.
God.
We just don't want to play games with you. You're mean.
JJ Dugan was mean to me in elementary school, and I just remember him to this day.
Right on.
Can't help it. So,
okay.
Anyway, Southern Gothic literature.
No, that's fine. We tangent a lot.
I know.
Yeah. So Southern Gothic literature it's representative of the big Southern lie, and we as modern Southerners all understand that, there is this mythos that, the South was better during the antebellum period, and it was this wonderful paragon of society. And it's not true. It never was true. It won't ever be true. Southern Gothic literature tells that in a form of allegory. So
I have a question. Now that you're saying this, it just makes me think, Gone with the Wind? Is that Southern
Yes.
Gothic? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Maybe a little less so because it doesn't really deal with the that big illusion of the great old Dixie and all that stuff. Most of these plays deal with that in a reflection of, I don't know if I can find the word. It's the decay of that idea, basically. Okay. That's what they're about. That's why they always harken back to the past. In all of these instances, they always talk about things that happened before, and they're generally terrible things that happened before. That's kind of the whole point.
So like Where the Heart Is, where she's basically abandoned in the Walmart.
Yes. They always look at,
did she break into she broke into the Walmart. She was abandoned on the side of the road.
No, she was abandoned in the Walmart.
That's where she broke in because she was able to find a back door that was open.
Yeah.
Because she was abandoned before that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Natalie Portman. She was pregnant, and she ended up finding an open door, or she went into a Walmart late at night and made a door so she'd go back in and made herself a little home.
Yeah, lived in the Walmart.
Yeah.
Until she finally got kicked out.
Was it based on a true story?
I am not sure. I don't think so, but it may have been. And that one takes place in Oklahoma.
Right.
I'm going to turn that down. Sorry. Pictures of Star Trek on Pinterest. I need to interrupt the podcast for that. But it looks at that idea of the past in Gothic literature. It generally looks at the Victorian period with the same idea that, oh yeah, it was this great time. Well, no, it wasn't. It was great for, like 1% of the population, but even for them, it wasn't that great, So the three examples, well, four, because where the heart is, three examples that I kind of pulled out. And I would say if you get a chance, now that we've got theater back, you guys should go see these live. Because once you see it live, you'll hate the movie. I'm so sorry I had to do that to you, but like Steel Magnolias. Steel Magnolias is one of my favorite plays of all time. The movie is effectively terrible to me.
And I disagree with you there. But again, I've never seen the play. I think Steel Magnolias is very good. I think it tugs at your heartstrings. It's funny.
It's supposed to. Yes, it's supposed to. Well,
I love Steel Magnolias.
A lot of the idea behind that is that these really strong Southern women, they deal with tragedy with humor.
Right.
So it is in equal parts sad and funny, and it should be. My problem with the movie is you actually see the things that happen, like the lady dance, like two pigs find her under a blanket. You're not supposed to see that. They're supposed to be talking about it, and that's what makes it funny. When you see it, it's not as good. My brain actually saw two pigs fighting under a blanket. But in the movie, it was just a lady in a really ugly dress.
I see a sausage roll.
Sausage roll? Pigs in a blanket. Yeah, there you go. Two of them.
Right.
So Steel Magnolias is about, is by a writer named Robert Harling. It's based on his experience with his sister's death shortly after she had a child. And it's about these Southern women in Northwest Louisiana, which is very similar to East Texas. At least in my mind. The accent in Northwest Louisiana is the same as the accent in Carthage, Texas, say, or where my mama was from, Annona, which no longer exists. So yeah, it's the sound and the pacing when they speak, which is another reason why I don't like Steel Magnolias, because I realize that Julia Roberts was nominated for an Oscar for that.
Wasn't Olympia Dukakis as well?
Olympia Dukakis was fine.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, she was exceptional.
Did she win for that?
I think Olympia Dukakis did. Julia Roberts did not.
Right.
And I don't know what she was nominated for other than worst Southern accent. It's terrible.
Find her character that bad. I don't see it.
So she's basically the weakest character in the play anyway. I mean, honestly, she's not even She's not in it as much as the rest of the ladies. And it's about, okay, so two older ladies.
Shirley MacLaine. Was she Scooter? Scooter? Something like that? As you look it up?
Yes, as I look it up. You know what? I had this in my head. They all had weird names. Let's just say that. So Shirley MacLaine and Olympia Dukakis, and they're really good friends. They're also friends with the Sally Field character, who is the mother of
Julia Roberts.
The Julia Roberts character,
yes.
Who is a type 1 diabetic.
Weezer. Her name was Weezer.
Boudreaux.
Shirley MacLaine was Weezer Boudreaux.
Which is the most Louisiana name you can get.
Well, I mean, you had Sally Field, who was Malin Eatonton. Dolly Parton was Truvy Jones. There was Weezer Bordeaux. Daryl Hannah, forgot she was in there.
Oh, Daryl Hannah is my favorite character.
Beautician?
Yeah, she was the one that basically her husband left her and she didn't have nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, great character.
N.L. Dupuy, D-U-P-U-Y, DeSoto. Olympia Dukakis was Clary Belcher.
Yeah, Clary.
Julia Roberts, Shelby Eatonton, Lacherry. And then Tom Skerritt, one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, Tom Skerritt's great in that.
His name was Drum.
Yeah, Drum. Her husband, Drum.
I've forgotten all these names. That's funny.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. And the Truvy character, her husband was Sam Shepard, who is a writer of a lot of these Southern Gothic pieces. He was also in the next piece that I want to talk about, Crimes of the Heart.
Olympia Dukakis was not nominated.
She was not? I thought
Julia Roberts was the only Oscar nominee for this movie.
Again, worst Southern accent. She was effective.
Did she do a Southern accent, Erin Brockovich?
No, I mean, she was fine in Erin Brockovich.
Well, she won for that.
Yeah, I thought she was fine, but I've never seen her in anything I really liked her in.
You like Pretty Woman?
No.
Come on.
I didn't like Pretty Woman at the time.
Who doesn't like Pretty Woman? Really?
Me.
Come on.
Me. I didn't like it.
Come on. Cinderella Story.
Well, yeah, Cinderella Story's great, but okay. All right, so I would have kept Olympia Dukakis and I would have kept Shirley MacLaine in the roles they were in. They were fine. Sally Field, I felt like, could have done a better job. I thought she was fine, but she wasn't nearly as good in that as she was as Mama Gump.
She was really, really good as that.
Yeah.
Which apparently is also Southern Gothic.
Yes. Well, it's the same thing. These strong Southern women, they always harken back to the past. The past wasn't as great as we thought it was. They're hallmarks of this genre. Daryl Hannah was exceptional. I think Daryl Hannah should have got nominated because I thought she was really, really good as that character. And let's not forget about Dolly Parton.
Do you know what I just realized?
What?
It's completely tangential on this. Tangential?
Tangential? Manfredson Jensen.
If it's not a word, I want it to be a word. Tangential.
Okay.
It's going to be a word now.
Tangential.
The Oscars are tonight.
Oh.
I have no idea I haven't even looked. I usually at least look and see.
Oh, dude. I think most of them were on HBO Max. So I saw the one about Fred. Oh my God. Okay. So the Black Panther guy.
Chadwick Boseman?
No. Fred Williamson?
No, Fred Williamson's dead.
No. This guy's dead too. He was playing the character Fred.
That's Fred Willard.
Fred. Oh my God. I cannot remember the civil rights leader's name. He was head of the Fred Hampton. Thank you. Yeah, there was a movie about Fred Hampton and the FBI agent who was part of the Black Panther movement was it Chicago? Yeah. And he was planted with him, but he was also helping the movement.
God, I don't think I have seen any new movies in the last 12 months. Except for Mortal Kombat. Well, okay, Mortal Kombat, Wonder Woman 84, which was terrible.
It wasn't great, but I would say it was terrible.
I'll change my opinion if Warner Brothers wants to sponsor us.
I love you, Warner Brothers.
The first one was so much better.
Oh, yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
I did not like Wonder Woman 1984. I felt it had no direction, that they didn't know really what the story was supposed to be or where it was going.
Well,
The Steve Trevor thing was bullshit.
You didn't like the Steve Trevor thing?
Bullshit.
Well, and I love Kristen Wiig, and I love Chitara.
I love Kristen Wiig too. They did a terrible version of it though.
Cheetah. I always want to call her Chitara.
Pedro Pascal.
Love him.
He was a weak villain, and I love Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I loved everybody in that movie.
I do too.
But it wasn't hidden. I would not say it's. I've watched it twice. It's okay.
I've watched it once. I won't watch it again.
It's not as I don't think it's nearly as bad as Steel Magnolias.
Circling back.
Yeah, circling back.
Although I'm going to go backwards, Steve Trevor, Chris Pine, I think they finally have greenlit the 4th Star Trek. I think they finally greenlit it.
Okay.
Don't know who's doing it.
Okay.
I don't think it's the Tarantino one.
Okay.
I don't remember who, but I think I finally saw that they have done it. I think it's Kelvin Timeline.
Okay. Chris Pine
and yeah.
Siler.
Yeah, Siler. Oh gosh. Why can't I remember his name? I'm drawing
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead and Siler from Heroes.
And Avatar Girl.
Yes. Oh my God, Chris Pine is the only one I can think of right now. And we're going away from Southern Gothic again, but and we can save it for another time. As a matter of fact, I'd prefer it actually, but I will say that the reboot of the Star Trek franchise, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I do too.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I love the takes that they did on the characters. I thought they did some great casting of the characters.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry, save that for another time. Yeah. But
Carl Urban, I can remember Carl Urban's name.
Carl Urban, thank you. Zoe Saldana.
Thank you.
We're slowly getting them.
Yeah. Zachary Quinto.
I knew it was a Q. And Shaun of the Dead is, why do we not know him? We both love him.
I love him. I've seen everything he's done.
I know. Paul. I love Paul.
Spaced. That was good. Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And now I can never. Now I can never meet him because I've forgotten his name on air.
It's going to drive me crazy. It's going to drive me crazy.
I love him so much. And he wrote it.
I know. I'll look it up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Southern Gothic literature. Okay, so we're getting back to Steel Magnolias. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. I think I would trade out the characters of Sally Field and Dolly Parton. And I would have Dolly Parton play the mother role and have Daryl Hannah play her daughter. And I would have Sally Field play the beautician, and I would have Julie Roberts replaced. Or, you could get a mannequin with a speaker box.
Wow. Simon Pegg.
I got it. As soon as you said Simon, I was like, Pegg, Simon Pegg. I love Simon Pegg.
For those of you that are lost, we just went backwards to Star Trek.
Yes.
About 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
you continued on.
That's okay.
I had to look it up because it was driving me crazy. And John Cho is Sulu, and the late Anton Yelchin.
Yes.
Idris Elba, was part of it. Anyway, Southern Gothic literature.
Southern Gothic literature.
These are the kind of things we've talked about this before. These are the kind of conversations that have happened with us over the years that we're like, oh, blah, 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 yak, yak, yak. Oh, hey, by the way. Whether it was tangential.
It's a word now.
Is it a word?
It's a word now. We've said it 5 times. It's a word now.
Tangential, not something pinged one of us that it went off into something else, and eventually we circle back to where we are. So
back to Julia Roberts being replaced with a mannequin with a speaker box on it.
You're crazy, but sure.
All right. The second piece I would recommend you going to see is Crimes of the Heart, and it point blank fires that shotgun with both barrels at the idea of stratified Southern society.
This is one I haven't seen.
Okay, so the play is supposed to take place in the mid 60s. It's about these three sisters whose mother had killed herself when they were very young, and they were raised by their grandfather. She hung herself and the cat.
Wow.
It's not until the end of the play they finally figure out why she hung the cat. They always thought she hated the cat. No, it's because she didn't want to be alone when she died.
You went dark. Wow.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
But there are parts of that film that are really, really funny. The play is funnier. She talks about one of the girls has an affair with the young fella who went and did odd jobs for him, and they had a little affair going on for a while. Her husband comes home, beats the hell out of him, and starts beating on her. And the next day she shoots him. That's where the play starts.
Wow.
Oh, she didn't kill him.
I'm sorry. William had something to say. What's that, William?
What?
I'm sorry. What?
What? Huh?
Oh, I think William went to sleep for a little while.
You okay? You
right over there?
It's like you don't want to talk about you don't want to talk about American
He perked up
theater?
when you talked about somebody shooting somebody. What does that say about him?
Yeah. Well, you don't get to see it though. They just talk about it. And she talks about having an affair with this man. Babe, he was so good.
Nothing.
It was
William?
great.
Good times. Good times.
Well, okay. The play was by Beth Henley, and it's set in the mid 20th century, I think roughly the 60s, and it takes place in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. Again, most of these writers are writing from places they know.
I love the fact that your Southern drawl has expanded.
Because I
as you're
said
talking about
Hazelhurst,
this.
Mississippi.
Well, I heard that, and I heard riders.
Writers.
It's very different to your normal. But so I'm going to tail off again.
Mm-hmm.
I will do the same thing,
Babe.
Some of that comes from being a former salesman and even a waiter to a point. Is you tend to adopt the accent of people you're talking to.
Yes, I'm real bad about it.
When you're trying to sell somebody something, food, alcohol, in my case, when I was doing cars, anything like that, it's almost an unconscious thing. And there's some people that are way better at it than others. Keith is very, very good with this, and he does this. But I've noticed it with myself as well that I'll adopt it, and that'll happen with TV and movies. So
because I'm hearing these things in my head.
Right. Well, and one of the TV shows I loved, I'm actually going through it again because I just absolutely love it, is Justified. And as I watch Justified, my accent
we dug coal together.
Yeah. Hey there, Boyd.
Boyd
Gonna go down to Harlan, go to the holler. The more I watch it, the deeper my accent gets in reaction to watching it. So I'm sorry,
I told you yesterday if I saw you here, I was going to shoot you. Think I was kidding about that?
It's one of the greatest opening scenes. One of the greatest opening scenes.
Crimes of the Heart.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, you should check it out. But again, I think it's better live. Now, the thing about Crimes of the Heart, it was released in 1981, and every college girl did these scenes for grades. They would do these scenes for grades. So, in college theater courses, one of the things you have to do is come out and do a bit, and they want to show how you're doing the scene, and so generally it's because this play is about these three sisters, so these three women. In the 80s and the 90s, college girls would do scenes, and particularly the scene about where the one sister is telling why she shot her husband. I've seen that done in a classroom setting probably 1,000 times.
Our mutual friend Elizabeth, when she was in...
I've seen her do this. So.
I didn't see her do this, but I think she told me that in one of her classes, two people did the argument sketch as their monologue, whatever it's called. So that... from Monty Python, that'd have been a funny one to watch. I
got accepted into Texas Wesleyan for doing the Michelangelo sketch with Angela. Huh. I didn't go. I ended up going to Tarrant County because I knew I wasn't going to finish, and I didn't want to be out that much money. So
right, yeah. I can understand that. I'm still paying on my student loans. So yeah.
Someday I will go back and get my humanities degree. Someday. I mean, I may be a decrepit old man, but I want that piece of paper just because I think it would be nice to have.
That's what I did. I went back because I I was already, in my field, and I wanted the degree. I wanted to go back. And so that's, I spent 4 years doing nothing but work and study.
I remember that. Yeah.
I didn't watch TV for 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. He totally missed
Battlestar Galactica. Yes. I had to go back and watch that later because I completely missed it. I'm sorry? What's that, Wayne? You had something?
What? Huh? What?
Every now and then I think he's saying something, but then I guess he doesn't. So
I think he's talking to the computer.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, he's looking at the little waveforms and checking those out.
Crimes of the Heart.
Crimes of the Heart. Thank you. So yeah, it's a good piece, and if you've ever been in a college theater course, you will see this one scene probably 1,000 times because it's a very intimate scene between two women.
I have to take a healing potion.
Okay, right on. No, not that kind of intimate. Yeah, the only intercourse is verbal. So they're sisters. Can't believe you. So and it's a great piece, and I would say if you ever get a chance again to see Crimes of the Heart live, you should check it out. It's worth the price of admission. I would say the same thing about Steel Magnolias. Steel Magnolias is so much funnier live because they can be a little broader. Live. Because I'm hearing Olympia Dukakis in my head say, it was like two pigs fighting under a blanket. So my third piece is The Glass Menagerie. I have seen probably 24 productions of The Glass Menagerie.
Never seen it.
Oh, okay. This is by Tennessee Williams.
Right.
Tennessee Williams.
I'm familiar with what it is.
He is the godfather of this particular type of literature. He wrote this way back in 1944. And it's a memory play because he's telling it from the point of view of Tom from 20 or 30 years in the future. And it's about his mom and his sister and her obsession with this glass menagerie. Now, his sister is this weak little character, Laura, who got sick in high school and has been sort of sad and dour ever since. And she obsesses about these tiny little glass animals that she's collected. The kind you get from like the carnivals and stuff. And she's got basically a menagerie of these little animals. This is what made Tennessee Williams famous. I mean, he was doing some other stuff, but this blew everybody away. They've made this movie 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. I think there's one made within the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I know Paul Newman did one in the mid to late 80s that was really good. But again, it doesn't have the bite that, it doesn't have a bite like you get from a small theater where you're maybe 20 feet away from where the action's going on. And it's amazing. And it opens with him giving a monologue about loving going to the movies.
Right.
It is semi-autobiographical. Tennessee Williams' real name is Tom. So he talks a lot about his sister and, the weakness of her and his mother and her obsession with basically marrying the sister off. Mm-hmm. And in the end of the play, the character Tom just basically leaves. He talks about just leaving. And that's essentially what happened with Tennessee Williams. But again, it's the idea. She always talks about being this grand Southern dame and this great time period that didn't exist. And that is a recurring theme in a lot of this literature. And I think maybe because of Tennessee Williams more than anything else. But it is both equally funny and sad. I talked about Sam Shepard. He was also in Crimes of the Heart as a secondary character. He's a writer. He was married to Jessica Lange for a while. I don't think they were actually married, but they were together for like 30,
I knew they were together. 30
years. He wrote a couple of pieces that are worth a view. In 1984, he did Paris, Texas, and a few years later, he did True West. Both of those are great. I think they made a movie about Paris, Texas. Come back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, by Graysick. Graysick, just like we know a Graysick.
Right.
So he won the best screenplay award for that one. If you've never seen Come Back, it's about these three women in this little five and dime store talking about when James Dean came to town and filmed Giant. Mm-hmm. So this actually takes place in Texas.
By the way, did you know, James Dean, while we're here, because I heard this on This Is Why We Drink, they covered this, that his spider car is haunted.
Really?
Yeah. You should read about that. There's some very,
check that out.
very interesting things that have happened to people who have purchased things off of that car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How much can you purchase? I mean, the pictures I've seen of that car, it was basically flattened.
Yeah. Look it up.
Well, Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, one of the ladies had a baby out of wedlock, and she has claimed for years it was James Dean's. They never talk about the fact that James Dean wasn't interested in women.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why he got in a car accident. He had a fight with his paramour, as it were, and he was drinking, and he's like, no, the hell with this, and got in his car and drove off around these California roads. And
there was actually somebody, I thought he was going somewhere, and there was somebody following him that saw the wreck, and from what they were saying on This Is Why We Drink, is the friend actually pulled him out from under the car.
Oh, wow.
And they, through no fault of his own, he was trying to do good, but had they actually left him in the car, he might have lived.
Yeah.
And cut him out. But instead, he ended up doing more damage that way. So you might want to check that.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's the same person he was having the fight with.
Maybe.
And again, this stuff is also about sadness and humor as a way to mask sadness. And I want to get back, kind of circle back to where the heart is.
Saw that, did you?
That was pretty funny. So we talk about sadness, humor. In Crimes of the Heart, sister husband, after she dies, she leaves the table to Mr. Sprock. Earlier on,
right.
They're having they're about to have dinner, and she tells Grace, and this is the line: "Dear Lord, we ask that you bless this food for the nourishment of our bodies, and we ask forgiveness, Lord, for the fornication that Mr. Sprock and me committed this morning on this very table." And then later on, she leaves the table to Mr. Sprock.
Yes,
Sprock,
Mr. Sprock. Yes, I love that. So he was like a handyman around the house.
Yes.
Yeah,
very handy, apparently.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Oh, Stalker Channing was greatness in that.
Yeah.
Loved her in that. And yeah, I would like to get, a few more takes on some of this stuff. I mean, I know why I like it, but I think it's culturally relevant because it speaks to who we are as Americans, particularly as Southern Americans, where we talk about, we all understand that was a big lie, that was not true, that was not a great time for anybody, even the 1 or 2% who had it good. And that's what this literature is about. It's also about strong women and weak men. But except for Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams, every one of his characters is kind of a weak person. He just, that's where he writes well.
Well, you said Forrest Gump was Southern Gothic.
Yes.
It's not a weak man.
No, very strong man.
Right.
I guess they kind of turn the tables because Jenny is basically kind of the weak character.
Maybe. I didn't even think about that.
Generally in most pieces of Southern Gothic, it's the other way around.
Right.
It's the man that runs off. And
well, then is Forrest Gump truly Southern Gothic then?
Maybe not. I mean, it definitely has a Southern Gothic feel to it.
Right.
Because it's deeply, and it deals with the past.
Yeah.
And the things that happened in the past and how they shape us, how they make us. And it's one of my favorite pieces, it's beautifully shot, and part of the allure, I think, for a lot of the filmmakers is that you get to use the backgrounds generally become characters, old abandoned Southern houses and beautiful woods and creeks and lakes, and these things are all kind of characters in themselves.
Yeah, we're used to it down here, seeing a lot of that architecture, the Southern architecture. I haven't spent hardly any time up north. I mean, I think I flew through Philadelphia twice, but I only saw the airport.
Yeah, I've been to Cleveland.
I went to Minnesota. That was just the airport. But other than that, I've always been in the South. And, I was in the Army in Virginia, outside of Richmond, out St. Petersburg.
Okay,
it's where Fort Lee is, and I love seeing a lot of.
It's beautiful.
It's very, very beautiful out there.
Like, you could see why that stuff becomes a character in a lot of these stories. Forrest Gump, especially that rooming house that his mama had, that was a character in that story all by itself.
Yeah.
Just like when he's running down the road in the middle of nowhere with this beautiful mountain behind him, he's got this big bushy beard. That would not have been as powerful if it had been in the middle of,
I thought that was Arizona.
It was Arizona, but I'm saying it's that particular landscape almost became a character in the way that a lot of the Southern Gothic literature, they use the Southern areas to be characters. Yeah. Yeah, because if they'd have done that any place else, that scene would not have been nearly as effective.
Right.
It had to do with where that was.
Cool.
And that's basically it with Southern Gothic literature. But now that you can get out and see, some of these shows, I would recommend any of the stuff we talked about. And Where the Heart Is, check it out. I think you can get it for free.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
I'd highly recommend
Just go
that
watch
one.
it. It's great. It's a little sad, but it's also a little funny and kind of beautiful. And if you can't go out and see a live production of Steel Magnolias, you can watch the movie.
What was her baby's name? Americus?
Americus.
Yeah.
Definitely see Crimes of the Heart. And, if you enroll in a college course in anywhere in America, you're going to see the scene that I'm talking about, because it's a powerfully intimate scene between two women. And I've seen lots of college theater girls do it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and Glass Menagerie. Anytime you get a chance to see that.
That's what I need to see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. And it's, it's like 2 hours of your life, and it's worth it. It'll make you laugh, make you cry, and then you can go have a nice dinner.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
So.
Oh, and shout out to David Coffey, one of my mentors. He does a lot of this stuff. He's doing a lot of stuff with tuna right now. This guy could write a book on playing those roles. He's really incredible, and he's a local guy. He started doing print ads for Leonard's department store when he was a little kid. So he's been a local guy for a long time.
All right. So that it?
I think so. I hope so. I may come up with a point later on, but
Well, sure. All right. So with that, I guess we move over to the murder side.
Murder.
So for this, my research for this week, I was covering, or I'm covering Stephen Peter Morin, Morin. When I originally began researching him, I read a blog repost in The Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
I read through his page on Wikipedia and a site called medium.com. And then I came across, and this is why we drink, which I reference them a lot because they're really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And they pointed me to a show on Investigation Discovery called Obsession Dark Desires.
Okay.
Boy, I'm going to watch more of this.
Okay. Obsession Dark Desires.
Yeah, it's really good.
Check it out.
They cover, theirs is basically covering stalkers.
Okay.
And this one was really, really good. They do a lot of dramatizations throughout. So, as they imagined, I guess, the incident or incidents happening. So this is the one that I really focused on the most, and this is really how I decided to cover this one, is from the way Obsession Dark Desires covered it. So on this episode, it was narrated by Sarah Pizan, I can't remember how they pronounce it, on an episode called Paging Sarah.
Okay.
So she talks quite a bit throughout this, giving her take on everything. That's where a lot of the dramatizations happen is from, their showing of the events as it occurred.
Was she like a forensic person? Or?
No, she is the person this happened to. She's not going to die. So she was the victim of stalking.
Okay.
So you'll kind of see as we go along how this happened. Because I mean, this is wild. This is unbelievably wild.
Let me put my seatbelt on.
Yeah,
okay.
You better.
Let's go. Roller coaster time.
So in January 1980, she moved to Nevada. She was just 19 years old. She had just separated from her husband. Okay. It was very bad divorce. Okay. At 19, they already had 3 children. So, wow. Yeah. She had the girls with her. She wanted a new beginning. She wanted to really start.
She was 19? They must have been young children.
She was 19, right. They were very young. So somehow she had arranged to move in with a couple out in Las Vegas. Okay. So things were apparently very, very happy at the time. It was a beautiful house. The kids loved it. Mm-hmm. And she got a job right away.
Oh, nice.
You're going to love this. Terrible Herbst. Herbst. When I saw this, I immediately knew it, because if you go to Las Vegas, you'll see Terrible Herbst. It's a big chain of convenience stores. Some of them even have garages.
They have terrible in their name?
Terrible Herbst.
Wow.
Herbst.
Why terrible?
I don't know.
Well, you remember it, so that's good.
Oh, absolutely, I remember it. I remember it from the very first time I went to Las Vegas. I'm like, wow, that's a very unusual name for a convenience store, gas station.
Why would I get gas here?
Right. So, so I knew it very well. The one she started working at was in North Las Vegas. Okay. On her very first night, she met Sherry Daniels, who also worked there. They became very, very fast friends.
Excellent. So she's got a nice place. The kids are happy. She's got a job. She's made a good friend. Yeah. Okay.
They became very close. Sherry had told her that she had a new boyfriend that she had been dating. Okay. She'd been dating him for a little while. His name was Andrew Ireland. And Cheryl said he was kind of a loner. Okay. She said he was very generous. He was a perfect gentleman. He was a good looker. Okay.
1980, probably had a Camaro. The hair?
It wasn't a Camaro. I think it was a sports car that they showed.
Listening to Blue Oyster Cult, that kind of thing?
I can't remember.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just setting the picture in my head.
No, that's fine. But what Sarah noticed is when Andrew came to pick her up, he'd never come in the station. He always stayed out in the car. Okay. But she started seeing that every time Andrew came to pick Sherry up, Andrew would stare at Sarah through the window. Oh, wow. Would stand up by the car and stare with her. She said it actually made her feel like a piece of meat.
Wow.
It was real creepy is what she said. Okay. She didn't tell Sherry this because Sherry just really liked this man. Yeah. And again, said he was very generous, perfect gentleman. So
nice guy.
She just kind of tried to let it go.
Maybe, sometimes people stare into space,
she said staring at her.
He was staring at her. She was pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah.
One day Sherry showed up to work and she was very upset. There were tears in her eyes. She just ran to the back. Sarah knew that something was wrong with her friend. So she started prodding her, hey, what's wrong? At first she didn't want to talk about it. But then she just whipped on her and said, he's married. Okay. And,
oh no. Yeah.
So, she obviously talking about Andrew Ireland. So she's very upset about that. The next day, Sherry didn't come to work.
Okay.
And she had said that this really wasn't like her. She was a no-call, no-show.
Wow.
She hardly ever called in sick.
Yeah.
She was never not there.
Yeah.
So it was really, really unusual for her to not show up to work.
Yeah.
The police actually arrived asking about Sherry.
Wow.
The next afternoon, the police found Sherry's Jeep in a parking lot.
Oh.
Her purse was still there. It was abandoned.
Okay.
And
Not her Jeep.
yeah. No, it was her. It was Sherry's Jeep.
It was her Jeep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sherry's Jeep was found abandoned in a parking lot.
I'm with you.
Right. So she was a missing person.
Okay.
The show then literally jumped 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I guess in that 6 weeks wasn't a whole lot of update except Sherry was missing.
She was gone.
Sarah had actually been promoted to manager of another station.
Okay.
And one of the things that Terrible Herps did is their managers had to have pagers.
Okay.
And these were the types of pagers that when you called them, someone would leave a message, and so it would immediately start playing through the pager. So when you hit the button, it would start playing the message.
Yeah.
Not just a beep, beep, beep and call a number. So it would, start playing through the pager.
Yeah, I remember those.
The pages were live. So people would call the pager and start talking, and the pager would immediately pick it up and start playing the message.
Oh, yeah, those are big old things, too. If I remember correctly, they were kind of like...
I had, so when I was a volunteer firefighter, I had one. It was big. It was, it was probably about, 5 inches long. And that's the same thing. When they broadcast a code that they needed people to the firehouse, it would start talking through it. So no, absolutely. I
kind of big things.
didn't even think about that pager at the time.
Well, the old man had one, because he had a wholesale car business, and he had one, in the early 80s that would, he would just start talking, which I always thought was weird.
I know.
Yeah.
So she said that one day that as she was working, a man pulled up and parked. He introduced himself as Robert Generoso. And he said he knew she was the new manager. I thought that was kind of creepy. When she said that, this guy comes up out of the blue, hey, you hear you're the new manager.
I hear you're the new manager.
To me, that was very creepy.
Yeah.
Sarah said she just guessed he was a regular and maybe had heard about her.
Yeah.
Because she said, there were people that would come by.
Yeah.
And so maybe somebody said, hey, we got a new manager coming in.
We were talking a few episodes earlier about video games inside convenience stores, and, you would see those people a lot.
Well, true. This was 1980.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even think about that. Sarah said that he was very nice looking. He was very friendly.
Okay.
He actually asked her to go out on a date.
Oh, cool.
She was flattered, but she turned him down.
Yeah.
She told him, hey, I got a lot going on with the station. I'm raising my kids.
Yeah.
Which I also thought, when I heard that, why are you telling this person you've never met you've got kids?
Yeah.
I just found that a little funny as well. He told her, that's okay. I'll wait. Don't forget me.
Right on.
That gave me the chills too.
Yeah.
That was creep factor. I really thought that was just, even if everything is just on the up and up, for you to walk up to a woman
that you've never met
at a gas station, asking her out is one thing. It happens.
Yeah.
But when she turns you down, I'll come back. That's okay. I'll come back. Don't forget about me.
Yeah.
I just...
Yeah. I would never... Yeah. I wouldn't even think about saying that.
Right.
Even back when I was single.
Right. She did... You had... I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah. Yeah. If it didn't get much further than, how you doing? I was pretty much out anyway.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Joey. But
it works.
She did say she actually started looking forward to him coming in because he kept coming back and he kept asking her out.
Right on.
So she
probably made her feel nice.
That's kind of how I got it. Is that she felt that she was also, at a new station, and it was just nice seeing regulars come in.
Still a new town.
I worked at a convenience store, and regulars come in is a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially I worked in Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to my sister Shelly.
Shelly.
I worked at a Circle K convenience store that was in Phoenix. You actually crossed the street and you were in Glendale, Arizona, but it was in Phoenix. And I worked the graveyard shift, which was fine because I was going to college and I could study there at night. But having my regulars come in was nice. I had a neighborhood watch guy that came in.
Nice.
He had his Glock strapped to his hip, and he'd come out. He'd have some coffee. I usually bought him his coffee.
Yeah,
just
right on.
hang out, talk for a while.
Yeah, once you stay
because I
around.
did get robbed.
Oh, you did?
Never at gunpoint, and there was never any violence, and never money. It was always beer.
Uh-huh. Oh, they just
People
grab beer and run
out. Yeah, I just grab, snatch and grab. So I understand the regular. I appreciate when my regulars came in because there was a lot of crime.
Yeah.
So anyway, she said she looked forward to him coming in. Now we're going to skip ahead 4 months later. She said that she was in her apartment. She was taking a shower and she heard her beeper go off.
Okay.
She wanted to hear the message, so she turned the water off, wrapped herself in a towel, and the voice came through the pager. You look good in a towel.
Ooh.
Yeah. This continued for a couple of months.
Wow.
The person was telling her what he was going to do to her.
Wow.
She could even hear him masturbating on the call.
Wow.
Why not call the police?
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. I mean, even 1980 crazy, well, it's maybe 81 by this point, but still.
Yeah, I've got somebody calling me.
He knows I'm in a towel. He can see me.
Right. That's kind of the point, where...
And she didn't recognize the dude's voice?
No, she said she didn't recognize his voice at all.
Okay.
So she said this continued for a couple of months. She would even grab for the pager when it went off and turn the volume down because she didn't want her kids to hear this.
Yeah, they didn't want to freak her kids out. No.
She said that the pages would continue more and more. Sometimes she'd get a page every couple of hours.
Good God.
Again, why have we not called the police at this
call
point? But
the cops.
Well, I'm actually going to get to that. So I have it. In the messages now, he was saying he was going to tie her up and cut her up. And she was now hearing a woman screaming in the messages.
That's threatening.
In the background. She couldn't figure out how somebody...
And it was live. She couldn't play it back.
It was live, right. She couldn't figure out, how somebody got it, but then she realized that on the wall in her store where people could see was her pager number written there on the wall.
Great.
So, she did talk about that you had people come by who were, Las Vegas has a big homeless population. People would come by, try to get stuff for free. And so, maybe this was one of them. She did say at this point, she didn't say anything to the police because she didn't even know what to tell them. They thought that they would think she was crazy. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
She's getting one every couple hours. You get on the police station, you're going to talk to them. And then when the page comes over, you just hit the button and let them listen.
Right. I mean, especially if it was coming through every couple of hours.
Yeah.
Call the police and have them come listen.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not her, so I can't talk to that.
Right on.
During this time, Robert was still coming in the station, the guy who kept asking her out.
Yeah.
He continued to do so, and she finally gave in. She said, because she decided to go out with him. And she said, he was good looking. He was a nice guy. He was very friendly. She looked forward to him coming in.
Yeah.
So she agreed to go.
Okay.
He left. She got a phone call 15 minutes later from him to confirm their date.
Right on.
At that point, she said something said, don't go.
Don't go.
Don't go on this date. So she was supposed to be picked up at 7 from her home.
Yeah.
Or somewhere. It didn't say. She was supposed to be picked up at 7. But she decided to stay at the station instead.
Okay.
The next night she went into work and she saw Robert's truck out of the corner of his eye, and he attempted to hit her with the truck. Attempted to run her over. She dodged out of the way. She made it in the store. She locked the door. And this was they did a dramatic portrayal of this as well. She said the man who was suddenly so polite changed. He was yelling at her through the glass, calling her a whore and a bitch. Mm-hmm. He told her he had plans for her, and she ruined everything. And then he drove off.
Wow. Okay.
In the video, they even showed that he hit the glass so hard it broke it. She didn't say that happened, but that's how it showed it in there. 2 weeks later,
dramatic license.
yeah. Again, I don't hear anything about calling the cops because
Yes.
now we're going to go 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
At this point,
tried to
he's
run
tried
me
to run you
over with-
over. I think
Yeah.
we can call the cops. That's not being crazy at this point.
No.
At least look into this guy.
Yeah, because if nothing else, the police can go talk to him. He may chill out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Maybe. Who knows, why he just snapped like that. 2 weeks later, Sarah was home and she thought she heard a strange noise. She couldn't figure out where the noise was coming from, and then the pager went off. She said that the pages have become a lot more violent now. The page, he was saying he was going to tie her up, rape her, and kill her slowly, piece by piece.
Wow.
Yeah, this has gotten bad, bad, bad. Sarah even said that she was really starting to have nightmares, and she felt like she was in a living hell being punished by Satan himself.
Okay.
So, one night at 2 a.m., her pager went off, and she heard whimpering sounds and a woman screaming. She said the woman on the page sounded absolutely terrified.
Okay. But she didn't recognize the woman's voice.
No, she didn't.
I have a sneaky suspicion I know who this woman is.
We'll see. The calls were becoming increasingly violent still. She started hearing sounds as if a woman was being beaten or maybe someone being beaten and killed.
Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
it was apparently pretty bad. Then we jump ahead 6 months later, and I can't imagine she's still
hasn't called the cops.
Still hasn't called the cops. So she's working, and she was reading a newspaper article about about women missing in Las Vegas. And then her mother called her and was panicked. Sarah's mother said that Las Vegas Metropolitan Police had linked Sarah to a homicide.
What?
And, and so she needed to get in touch with the police. Hey, Sarah, what's going on? This is freaking me out. And,
Yeah.
Sarah hung up the phone with her mother, and she said it immediately rang. And it was the police who told her she was in great danger and she needed to get out of sight that second. She called a friend of hers to go get her kids and take them to her friend's house and lock the door.
Okay.
Sarah then locked the door of the station and locked herself in the office.
Okay.
The police did arrive at the station. They had to coax her back out, and they told her that they had found the body of Sherry Daniels, her friend,
Yeah.
that evening.
Okay.
She had been raped and brutally murdered. Bless you. And a wallet was found at the scene. Inside the wallet was Sarah's name and home address.
Wow.
They told her to go quickly to the squad car and lie down in the back seat out of sight.
Okay.
So she traveled to a police station in the back seat, completely laying down. She's freaked out at this point. They took her into the police station. They brought in a mugshot album. They asked her to look through it and see if there's anyone she recognized. They asked her if she recognized this man, quote unquote. And she was very confused. And she said, this man? And they said, yes. What about this one? No. And kept going through. And she's like, I don't understand, what is this? And she goes, or they told her, these are all the same men, every single picture. He would have different hair in some pictures and even different races. And they told her that they believed he was going to try and kill Sarah. She kept flipping through, and there's the picture of Robert.
Robert and the boyfriend is the same guy.
Then she found the picture of Andrew Ireland in the same book.
Robert and the boyfriend are the same dude.
They were all the same men. His real name was Stephen Peter Marin. He would take names off tombstones and send off for birth certificates. He looked for people around his same age. He once even looked through obituaries at Yale and found someone close to his age of an appearance. This is where he got the alias Robert Generoso. The police said he had been killing since 1969.
Wow.
And that he was one of the most brutal and sadistic serial killers they had ever heard about.
Wow. And operating with impunity in Las Vegas, apparently.
At the time. They said that he had beaten and raped Sherry several times.
That's who was on the phone.
She then realized it was him killing her friend that were in all the messages that he was leaving. So she was listening to her being killed, and eventually he shot her in the back of the head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I thought this was kind of weird. They opened up other files and started showing her pictures of girls he had already tortured and killed. The after effects. I don't know why they were showing them to her, but they did. He dismembered many of them. And in one, he even cut the woman's eyes out, which is one of the things he threatened her with. She said he would threaten to cut my eyes out and do nasty things to my skull.
Oh no! If she'd have called the police, she may have been able to save her friend.
She did feel some guilt about that. She talked about that. The police knew of at least 44 women and 7 men that Stephen had already killed.
Wow.
And then Sarah broke down. She was afraid. She's like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
The police haven't been able to catch him so far. Why should they be able to do so now?
Yeah.
So,
they can't, okay. So they can't, this is the early 80s. They can't trace the number off the pager.
I don't know. I have no idea how that technology worked then, what they could do. The police did tell her, this is too big of a city. We can't watch you around the clock. You need to get out of town.
Leave.
So the next morning, she got her kids, she dropped them off at the babysitter, and went back to her apartment to get her things. She brought her friend Sally with her. She said as she and Sally walked up to the door, Sally squeezed Sarah's hand and mouthed to her, "Get in the car." Sally told her, once they got in the car and drove off, Sally told her that Stephen must be inside because she had heard him and he was behind the door.
Oh, wow.
They said in the video that they thought he was waiting behind the door to shoot her, but it really wasn't clear at that point how they knew he had a gun.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he was in there.
Yeah. He was going to get him.
He was going to get him.
Yeah.
The police came back with her to search the house, but Stephen had fled out the back door. Police said he was waiting in the apartment to shoot her as she walked in the door. And then when they went inside, they saw that her address book was missing.
Oh, no.
So he now knew where her family was.
Oh, no.
So Sarah booked out of Las Vegas and she went to her mother's house in Bullhead, Arizona.
Okay.
She said she felt safer with family, and
Yeah.
Bullhead was a smaller city.
Yeah.
Police could watch down the block.
Yeah.
But
where she knew everybody.
She didn't say she knew everybody, but Bullhead is nowhere near as big as Las Vegas. It's
Okay.
a smaller town.
Okay.
But she did say she was afraid to go outside. She
Yeah.
felt like a prisoner.
Yeah.
She couldn't even go take out the trash.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know. Around Christmas, we're still in 1980, the phone rang, and it was Stephen on the other end. And he told her he knew where she was, and he was going to kill her.
Oh.
So she realized she couldn't stay, so she packed up and moved again, and this time she moved in with her aunt and uncle in Texas City, Texas.
Okay.
She felt that she was far enough away that it would
Texas.
at least...
Oh, well, that's East Texas.
Yeah.
That's pretty far.
That's pretty far. And that's what she said.
That's
she
almost Louisiana.
She felt she was far enough away that it would take at least a little while for him to figure out where she was. I mean, good Lord, think about that, she's in this state where she's thinking she's going to have to move every so often because this guy is out there and hunting her.
Hunting her. Yeah.
So, she just didn't know what she was going to do. However, in December 1981, they did catch him. He was trying to get on a Greyhound bus out of San Antonio. He was headed for.
Yes, he was.
In San Antonio, he was wanted for another murder. This was a Carrie Marie Scott that he was wanted, so they picked him up. The police did say that they thought Sarah was such an obsession that he was not going to stop until he got her.
Yeah. Either they got him or he got her.
So he was arrested after a 4-year manhunt.
Wow.
Pleaded guilty to 4 murders, but he was linked to more than 30 unsolved cases.
Wow.
He was sentenced to death by lethal injection on March 13th, 1985.
Okay.
When they went to execute him, he had been such a heavy drug user, it took over 30 minutes to find the usable vein.
Wow. That's a lot of heroin.
Yeah, a lot of heroin.
That's a lot of heroin.
An interesting fact, he is only the second person in Texas history to plead guilty to capital murder, effectively volunteering for the death penalty.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And that's the story of Stephen Peter Marin.
Well, I'm glad she's okay.
Told you this one was creepy.
I'm glad she's
Probably
okay.
should have put a forewarning at the beginning.
Yeah, it's fine. It was 40 years ago. I think we'll be okay.
But it was just
And
it
he's
was
dead.
And it was just so particularly creepy. I mean, it was skin crawling. Yeah, the same guy. It was just blah.
Same guy.
And I mean, I had figured out pretty quick that Andrew Ireland and Robert Generosa were going to be the same guy.
Well, my first thought was, okay, these guys are working together, but it's like it's the same.
No, I thought
dude.
it was the same guy from the beginning.
Same dude, and they said he changed race. Okay, so the guy must have been really good at hair and makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, really good at hair and makeup.
Hair color, changes face, changes race. I mean, they basically called him a chameleon.
Wow.
And guilty for so much just terror and just that was creepy. That was just absolutely creepy. So, glad I could after the fun of movies get some creepy for a while.
Not a little creepy. Well, I mean, this works best if we do a little bit of light side, a little bit of dark side. A little light side, a little dark side.
So you've said we'll see what our fans think.
Yeah.
If we have any fans by this point. I mean,
guys suck.
Yeah, by this point in episode 5, we could have people saying we suck, and we're going to be off the air by episode 10.
No, we can't be off. We have to do 10. I got something planned.
So that's all I have for this week.
That was good. Very informative. Interesting.
Yeah, yours was. Yours was too. Very. I liked learning about what I didn't know was Southern Gothic.
Yes.
So then with that, you can find our website, nerderyandmurdery.com. That's also where it will link to our Patreon. So if you want to subscribe to us, we do put our patrons on our website, as well as early release episodes for some of our patrons as well, 2 weeks early.
2 weeks.
So if you just can't wait for some episodes, do that. You can also find the links on our webpage to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as we're starting to put things out there. If you want to contact us, you can email the show at email@murderyandnerdery.com.
Zig@nerderyandmurdery.com.
If you want to talk to me about murder, you can email me at Geoffrey@nerderyandmurdery.com. And William?
Will? Nothing?
Outstanding. If you want to email William and find out if he actually has words, you can get him at william@nerderyandmurdery.com. And,
is it William or Will?
Oh, Will. It's Will@nerderyandmurdery.com. You're right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You can email him and ask why he doesn't talk, or ask, is he really as handsome as we think he is?
Deliciously so.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So with that,
I'm Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery, and we're nerdery and murdery.
Cue the music.